Hey, welcome back to the ninth episode of the Decomposition Pattern podcast, where we break down the hardest stakes in taking programming into their fundamental components. We separate signal from noise, tackle complex topics with clarity, and rebuild our understanding from the ground up. This is Jose, and today we're going to talk a little bit about how to be an effective and productive software engineer. This topic was triggered by a listener, Mario, asked via YouTube comments how to be like an overview of must-have software libraries or resources to improve the software developer efficiency. Um, there are a few things that I can recommend, but it's not like there's a very special recipe to be extremely effective and productive. But being productive is always an interesting thing to question and to explore. So let's talk a little bit about it from my perspective. One of the things that are important to understand is that effectiveness, they are kind of relative concepts, right? You might be the best software engineer in the world and might not be effective or productive in a specific context. So it might be like the results may vary depending on the context you're in, right? And the expectations upon you from your management, right? So you might be required to do a lot of executions and not so much of thinking. So being effective and productive there means picking as many tasks as possible per day. So the first thing that I might recommend is to define these in concretion to your context, okay? But assuming a best scenario, being effective and productive might not represent the how much work you can chunk, right? You can do in an hour or whatever period you set here. Being effective means you have a high positive impact with the least amount of effort, right? That's effective. And productive means that you're just not blocked and you can just keep producing value at whatever rate it's relevant for you. So I think that to maximize both of these metrics, you first need to understand exactly what you are, right? So is there anything that's worrying you in terms of being effective or productive? Don't you feel productive at work? Do you get to the end of the day with that feeling that you didn't do anything? Then let me just share how I go about it, and then you take the best from what I'm about to tell you. So there are three major things that a software engineer should do. Be on the good path for effectiveness, productiveness, right? So the first thing is we should have a routine of keeping up to date. This will bring the relevancy of your person, the project you're working with, right? So this routine should be something that you put on your calendar, right? So you're going to spend like 30 to 45 minutes daily to just the news, and by mean checking the news, not the gossips, but going into a set of resources, okay, and like social media or specific blog posts or whatever, or Medium, whatever you like to consult to see what's happening in the world in relation to the work you're doing, right? So checking the latest on the technologies that you use, seeing the new versions, seeing how are they evolving, if that evolution is relevant for you, so then you can advocate for those changes internally and try to reach that value. Also take a routine of looking into what's happening in the project, not only directly in the project that you're working with, but in the services that your company is maintaining. Try to keep an over. No, you don't need to know all the details. Sometimes that's just not possible. but try to get a major sense of what's happening, how things are moving on. One thing that's important for every software engineer is to understand where the project is coming from and where it's heading at. So you kind of, whenever you make decisions, you're making them in the most informative way, and that's compatible with the future that he wants to give to those service, to the project, right, to the product. And so that's a very, very interesting thing. So all the decisions you make is not based on past assumptions, but it's based also on where we want to make. And sometimes you gotta make that allow us to make like difficult decisions with the objective of achieving that, or that in the future this is where we want to go. So have this routine of constantly, not constantly, but at least like once a day, checking what's happening, and if that's and try to think if that's aligned with what the project and the company needs. And if it's not, then be the voice that kickstarts the discussions to realign, and either the project needs realignment or the mission of the company needs to align itself again. And lastly, have a routine of daily focusing on the tasks that you have at hand, and before that focus, you should reprioritize the tasks so you can be sure that you're focusing on what's important, right? So your time as a software engineer is extremely costly for the company, relatively speaking, right? But it costs company. So every hour that you invest in something is an hour that you're not investing in another something. And although this might sound weird, but you gotta understand that you need to be really sure that where you're investing your time is exactly where you need to invest your time. This is all very abstract, but the concretion depends on your context, right? So you gotta be, again, aligned with the mission, with where the company wants to go, where the project needs to be. So you gotta decide daily that the tasks that you're working with have points the needle to that or desirable output, right? So that will take care of that feeling where you went the day and you think you're being really busy, but you feel like you didn't add to the mission, right? So you kind of like, you feel like you haven't been productive. If you consistently revalidate that you're investing your time on the right things, then you won't feel that way at the end of the day. The second major thing that it's important for us to keep effective and productive is to understand the tools that we work with. There are people that love IDEs, there are people that love code editors, there are people that just love Vim and use it. And any of these groups of people can be extremely effective. But one thing they will have in common is that they will explore the shit out of their tools. They'll find ways to maximize the outcome and the usability of their system, so that they have to do less to do more, right? So less keystrokes to achieve the same objective. I use a lot. I'm very comfortable inside JetBrains IDEs, and I can do everything since opening a task in the project management system to opening the PR at the end of the implementation. I never leave the IDE. In the meantime, I create the tests, I test them, I do all of that refactor cycle that comes with TDD, and then I can just push the code, make reviews, everything with the help of my IDE, without ever leaving, without going into specific version control systems, websites, and using their clunky web UIs or whatever. I do all of that from my IDE. I can open PRs, merge PRs, send the feedback, and all in between what's needed. So that makes me extremely productive. But I took the time to explore my tools, and I now am very sure of how to maximize them. So do that if you're not well familiarized with your tools, or that you're reaching out for external things. First, check if that thing exists in me or something like that, or if you can make it like an internal thing, so that you don't need to go around and handle that with different set of tools. If you can just have you imagined if I had to go to an external terminal, if I go to external Git client, if I go into an external code review, I don't need to do that. I have all of these 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 6 platforms or softwares inside my own IDE, and that makes me very effective and I can make the same with less effort. So that's really productive. And then last thing is resources. I talked a little bit on the first point, right? When we talked about routine. So having this list of update resource, right? So the social networks, I have a list of social network profiles that I go and check what they're doing. I go into YouTube and follow some creators and try to get updated with their work, try to interact with them, and that creates this network effect that then I can use to request information and leverage the best way I can. And that also makes me very effective and productive, right? So overall, on having these routines, understanding the tools, and having the resources that I know I can use to improve myself, and obviously getting feedback from my manager, right, and my peers, so I can improve. That will make me a very effective, productive, and possibly a go-to person whenever required. And at the end of the day, understanding that everything I had to do, I've been done. I'm working on the correct things because I evaluate that daily. That will then end that imposter syndrome, right? Of I'm not totally effective and productive. But have the conscience that at the end of the day, these metrics are very relative and abstract, and depends a lot on what's expected. If I'm on the company or a project that has that is extremely important, then I need to think a lot first, and then I execute. That's okay. That's not because somebody is doing like a mid-level developer is rocking 20 tasks of tech support, does not mean that my 1 or 2 tasks of new groundbreaking features is less important because I did less, right? That's not the case. This is all measured by impact. So I can have 20 tasks done as tech support and have low impact, and I have 1 or 2 features that have an high impact because the company can close more deals because it has now that feature that a list of very excited customers wanted, right? So it all depends on the context and what are the expectations. So that's why I started this episode stating about context, right? So keep an eye out for that, those opportunities for understanding, am I working on the correct thing? That's one of the biggest puzzles that you need to solve every day, and you need to answer that. Okay, so I won't take much more time. This is all I have to share with you about it, so just try to be as effective and productive as you can. See ya.